My mother-in-law snooped through everything in my life for years, so I let her find something that destroyed hers. From the day I married James, his mother Sandra invaded every part of my life. I'm not talking about normal nosy mother-in-law stuff. She read my texts whenever I left my phone out. She opened my mail before I got home. When I mentioned going to the doctor, she called them pretending to be me. When we went on vacation, she used her spare key to search our empty house. It started small with Sandra reorganizing my bathroom cabinets when she visited, then mentioning my birth control brand at family dinners because she'd seen it while looking for aspirin. Everyone would go quiet while I forced myself to smile. After 3 years, it got worse. I came home early and found her sitting on my bed reading my personal journal. She apologized, but then told everyone at dinner that she was worried about my mental health based on what I wrote. Another time, I caught her taking pictures of our bank statements with her phone. 2 days later, James asked me why his mom thinks I'm bad with money. When I changed our locks, she convinced James she needed copies for emergencies. And after that, I'd come home to find furniture moved and drawers left open. The worst part was when James pulled me aside and said, "Mom's just trying to help. This paranoia you have is tearing our family apart." I realized then that she'd trained him his whole life to think her snooping was normal, that going through someone's things meant you loved them. 3 months later, I finally got pregnant after 2 years of trying. James and I cried together when we saw those 2 lines on the test. We decided to announce it at Christmas with special ornaments and only told my parents. I locked all the pregnancy tests and doctor papers in our filing cabinet. On December 10th, my phone started blowing up with congratulations while I was at work. My sister-in-law called asking why Sandra knew before she did. Sandra hadn't just told everyone I was pregnant. She told them my exact due date and even mentioned the bleeding scare at 6 weeks when we thought we'd lost the baby. Only James and I knew about that. When I confronted her, she said, "If you weren't going to tell me, I had to find out somehow. A grandmother has rights." That night, James found me crying on our bathroom floor. We canceled Christmas completely. Something inside me broke, and I decided to use Sandra's snooping against her. I knew Sandra always went through my desk where I kept bills, so I set a trap. I researched this makeup company that was actually a scam where you had to pay $40,000 upfront to join. The company was about to go bankrupt but was still taking people's money. I printed out fake success stories and circled them, writing notes like, "This could be us," and "Call Monday." I left these papers in my desk drawer. When Sandra visited, I pretended to take a phone call about it, saying loudly, "I have the $40,000 ready, I just need to convince James." Then I told James in front of her that I wanted to join, but he wouldn't let me touch our savings. Sandra's eyes lit up because she thought she'd found my secret plan to get rich. 2 days later, I watched Sandra sneak into my office and take pictures of all the papers with her phone before I quietly backed away. The makeup company's website had a special link where you could pay $40,000 to become a top seller. Within 3 days, Sandra had emptied her savings and maxed out credit cards to buy in, using my name as the person who referred her. At Sunday dinner, she kept making comments about how some women recognize opportunity while others need their husband's permission. She even brought the overpriced face cream to show everyone. I acted confused and said I'd decided not to do it after reading bad reviews. Sandra just smirked and said, "Good thing someone in this family has business sense." 6 weeks later, the company went bankrupt. The government shut them down and everyone lost their money. Sandra couldn't get any of her $40,000 back. She showed up at my door screaming, "You knew it was a scam. You set me up." I asked her how she even knew about the opportunity, unless she'd been going through my desk. Right then, James walked up behind her and heard everything. The look on his face when he finally understood his mother had been snooping through our things for years was priceless. Sandra had lost everything. She had to sell her house to pay the credit card debt and her credit was ruined. She tells everyone I tricked her, but she can't explain how she found out about it with